Mike Owens here. Today I'm joined by Jon Dodson, who's coming off one of the biggest wins of his career at Knuckle Mania 3 last weekend. Jon, great to sit down and chat. How are things with you today?
I'm doing amazing, boss. I'm just been sitting there enjoying life, knowing that I'm not messed up, cut up, or even bruised up or banged up. So,
Well, look, that is a possibility in any fight, but of course, an even greater possibility in Bare Knuckle. What are your emotions after the win?
Right now, I'm focusing to make sure I can go ahead and step back into the ring of RIZIN, in my next MMA bout, and then I'm in the square circle for Bare Knuckle. It should be a title fight because I dismantled Jared Grant so easily and making my case be known that I'm one of the best strikers in the world. You know, I should be having a belt around this weight. Everybody's been talking about how they've been so worried about MMA fighters going in who's been former UFC fighters or other like high level strikers going into Bare, putting on some lackluster performances or going into the distance and with these other that are pretty much my peers from that sport, and I'm the one highlighting and saying, hey, I'm still one of the best, still doing the thing, and still rocking it the way I can.
Little bit of a technical difficulty there, but Jon, we were talking about your transition. Obviously, you're still fighting in MMA, but obviously to Bare Knuckle. Obviously, with the intangibles and the skills that you had in terms of your speed and obviously your power, did you expect the transition between sports to go as smoothly as it has?
Oh, absolutely, because of the fact that like I've been designing my style for Bare Knuckle for my whole MMA career. Like, if you really think about it, I'm a boxer that translated into to mixed martial arts with some wrestling ability and very few submissions, like wins. I use everything else so I can stand and bang, and I just strike everybody with my hands so proficiently that everybody's so afraid of me every single chance they get.
100%. Now, it's a basic question if I ask you what the difference between MMA and Bare Knuckle is. That kind of goes without saying. But what's the differences in terms of training and in terms of preparation? Is there any at all?
No specific design for me to go ahead and change up what I'm doing. My regimen for Bare Knuckle is the same thing that it continues to do for MMA, and I'm making sure that I can go ahead and have that transition be pretty much seamless. Like, all my training is geared towards MMA, and I'm making sure that I'm making the case so I can go ahead and do both. Like, Bare Knuckles just give me another platform to keep me active, stay busy, and making sure I can strike within those ranges.
You did.
Even though we're not running kicks, and I'm just staying outside of kicking range all the time.
You did smirk then when I said that the differences between MMA and Bare Knuckle are obvious. Am I maybe over-exaggerating that? Is there not as many differences as you would perhaps assume?
No, because of the fact that, like, even though I'm not worried about the whole general mindset and mentality of being in the knee, kicking, takedown, jiu-jitsu, like, that makes MMA such a different type of animal. With Bare Knuckle, still in the same parameters of the striking round. Like, if I go into a boxing match with Bare Knuckle, like, into an MMA round, like, we use the MMA gloves and with the boxing, it's the same type of ideals. I have to use the same type of angles, the same type of footwork, and the same type of in and out motions that I always have done for so many years.
Yeah, 100%. I suppose the main difference in many ways between Bare Knuckle and MMA is the damage that you can sustain in terms of cuts and in terms of bruising without the padded gloves. I think every fight on the card, bar one, was a knockout or a TKO. With that being said, 2 fights into your BKFC career, how kind of sustainable is a career in BKFC? Like, how many fights do you almost plan to have in your head?
Not as many as I can get, to tell you the truth. Like, I'm not taking that much damage, and we've already seen how well I can continuously bounce in and out. I mean, in this world of Bare Knuckle, it's about being touched. It's about touching them and not being touched at all. And I can continuously hit them as many times in different variations and different angles because of the fact that they haven't figured it out just yet that this is not boxing and it's not MMA. It's its own animal, and we have to make sure that we can be pretty much like fencers to be able to strike a point at the opponent, be in and out, and be so elusive so that you don't get touched.
Are the risks almost enhanced in many ways?
Well, the risk is a lot more there because of the fact that at any given time, I can be cut in an instant. It only takes one clean punch to allow me to get cut and open up an abrasion on top of my face. And I don't want that.
No, of course. Nobody does, but of course. But obviously, one kind of nice part of this transition over to BKFC is the fact that you've been able to have 2 homecoming fights back in Albuquerque. I think I checked the record. The last time you'd fought in Albuquerque prior to BKFC was John Moraga in 2014, if memory serves. So how nice has it been to have these homecoming fights and to fight in front of your home crowd?
Well, it's amazing the fact that I continuously fighting on bigger promotions. And I fought twice in the UFC here in Albuquerque, one at the Rio Rancho Event Center, and also one here. And when I fought Moraga, I ended up TKO on him, and I also knocked out Nathaniel. So it's kind of a deciding factor. If anybody comes out here, they are going to get knocked out.
So you're 4-0 with 4 KOs in Albuquerque. Like, if that's not a home advantage, then I don't know what is.
Hey, man, like, they got to be prepared for it. Everyone keeps on thinking that it's a hoax, and I'm like, no, I don't lose at home, and this is the reason why. The energy out in Albuquerque is just so unique that everybody feeds me into this killer mentality, and I just make sure I have a punishing threat onto everybody.
Of course. Well, in many ways, this year in terms of 2022, I get that this fight was in 2023, but for the last 12-month period, it's been a big year for you in many ways with four victories, but 2 in MMA and 2 in BKFC. I guess
Yes.
when you look back at the entirety of your career, when it's all said and done, how big do you think 2022 will be?
2022 was an amazing year. Making the fact that I can go ahead and make a clean sweep of everything. Like I was 2 wins straight in MMA, and then also having that phenomenal promotion with RIZIN, having 50,000 people cheering my name and chanting me, making sure that they can go ahead and see me take out one of their legends in MMA, in Hideo Tokoro. I sat there, punished that dude, finished him in the first round, and got to have a magnificent night. Same thing with taking out Ryan Benoit, who's a former UFC Flyweight, like the top contender. I finished him in the first round like it was nothing. So this year, right now, it's been on a promising career with me knocking out Jared Grant, being the former Bantamweight champion. And to tell you the truth, I'm looking to have 2 different titles around my waist from 2 different organizations.
We've talked about, obviously you feel as though the BKFC title should be next, but if we talk a little bit about MMA, you've alluded to the fact you still want to fight in MMA. What are your essential goals in that area? What are you looking to accomplish?
Well, I have a title. I have a contract with RIZIN, so I'm out there in Japan taking out the best Japanese dudes on the world. And I'm going to sit there and marquee myself to be the best pioneer fighter ever lived. Like, I'm telling everybody I'm the best flyweight in the world. And I'm going out there to RIZIN, fighting at flyweight, controlling the distance, beating up everybody. I will be holding a title pretty soon.
So the plan is to be not only the champ, but the champ across multiple disciplines.
Oh, I want to be able to hold as many titles as possible in as many organizations as I can. Like, I only got a limited time left. Like, I definitely not know Yoel Romero, and I'm not trying to go ahead and be like close to my 50s still fighting. I want to go in my career with the best way possible by having as many titles as I can, and then have the best run that I possibly could do.
Obviously, of course. Obviously, you had the fight on New Year's Eve in RIZIN, but was there a specific reason why you chose to re-sign with RIZIN for this latter stage of your career in MMA?
Oh, absolutely, because of the fact that I went out to Japan for my very first MMA fight to go fight one of the high-level competitors. At the time, Ukahara Urishitani was the #1 flyweight in the world, and I went out there and lost it by decision. Now, I wanted to go back out there to pretty much secure the fact that I am a different animal and make the same type of statement and shock the world out there as much as I can.
100%. In many ways, as you mentioned there, you are Romero, you don't want to be fighting into your 50s, but do you have an exit strategy? Do you have an essential goal that you're trying to accomplish? Or is it get these belts and then bounce, or is it an age that you want to fight until? What are the goals?
Nah, there's no age requirement for me for like retirement. I just want to go ahead and do what I can, and my body will tell me when I need to go ahead and exit the sport. So right now, it keeps on saying that I'm good to go, and I'm gonna keep on listening to it until I'm no longer able to. Like, I don't want to be that dude who wants to sit there and be past his prime, get knocked out every chance he gets. No, I want to keep on knocking people out. And my job, if I can keep on doing that, secure more victories, like I've been doing, continue to follow up the bodies.
Makes total sense. But obviously, you've done a lot of your great work. Two-time UFC flyweight challenger, a flyweight. But obviously, you did some massive work at bantamweight as well, as you mentioned. I think the last win in the UFC was obviously against a Brit, a similar Brit and myself, and Nathaniel Wood. Like, you did a lot of wins in both weight classes. Across multiple organizations, there's a massive debate at the moment as to who the best bantamweight in the world is. You could go with Adriano Moraes or Demetrius Johnson. You could look at Sergio Pettis in Bellator, or you could go with someone, of course, in the UFC. In your mind, John, who do you think is the best bantamweight in the world?
The best bantamweight in the world is probably going to have to be Henry Cejudo. because he is a bantamweight. TJ Dillashaw and Dominic Cruz are pretty much up there, but Dominic's probably, actually, if you really think about it, the best bantamweight in the world was Dominic Cruz, because California Kid was the guy who was a pioneer for the bantamweights and featherweights, and the Demetrius Johnson and myself were the pioneers for the flyweight. So in that category, Dominic Cruz is definitely the best bantamweight. Demetrius Johnson is the best flyweight in the world, and the best featherweight was Jose Aldo.
Well, you said to yourself then you're a pioneer of flyweight, and when you see flyweight in the UFC flourishing in the way it is, you know, we've just seen a fourth fight, a historic fourth fight between Figueiredo and Moreno. What are your emotions when you look back at that division and how it's flourishing in the way that it is, given what you did?
Man, I wonder why they let me go. If I'm still knocking people out like I am doing right now, and they let these dudes fight for the fourth time for the title, shit, it tells me that I could have been the champion a long time ago. But you know what? No hearsay or there. I'm looking for bigger and better things, and I'm going to continue on my path of being the greatest striker in the world.
No, makes total sense. But in a similar vein, obviously, we're talking about this fight just having taken place in Albuquerque. There's another famous Albuquerque who's making his return in a couple of weeks' time, and that's obviously Jon Bones Jones. I don't know if you guys still have trained together at all in the gym, but have you seen anything of Jon? And if so, what are you expecting of his return?
Jon's actually over at my buddy's gym, Jackson Acoma, because he's not allowed at Jackson Wing. He's been doing his own thing. He's brought us a bunch of who's who of heavyweights from pretty much all the different promotions with PFL, UFC, Strikeforce, or not Strikeforce, Bellator, and everywhere else. Like, he just wanted to make sure that he can make himself ready for Ciryl Gane, and it's going to be one hell of a show.
Who do you anticipate? What do you think is the key for Jones to get the victory, especially after 3 years off the cage?
For him to be himself, he's going to sit there, go out there, do what he does best, and just not to the end of the bell. Ciryl Gane does not know what is going to hit him. Well, the new Jon Jones, who's so much bigger, thicker, faster than he was before. So the heavyweight division is going to be put on notice very quickly and very fast.
100%. Well, fast and speed is obviously a word that is very much associated with Jon Dodson. We've talked a lot about your goals and the fact that you want to be a champ. So I won't ask you for anything in that regard. I guess what I'd like to know for one final question is, how did you celebrate the victory last Friday night?
I sat there and went to go eat some pizza, and then I went to go to an after party. I had like large pepperoni sauces, green chili, and the bacon bits on my pizza.
Well, if I ever run into you in the flesh, then I'll know what to buy you as a pizza slice. So that's a good piece of knowledge to know at the very least. Jon,
absolutely.
Jon, thank you so much for your time. It was great to sit down and chat. Great to see you back in action last Friday, and I wish you the best of luck in the rest of your career.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate you too, man.